Hey y'all, I'm still fairly sick, so to make my life easier, I am back and I have more scary TikToks. And this playlist is all about notorious serial killers. I'm super excited to watch these. I don't think I've seen any of these. I'm sorry if I don't seem like I have that much energy, I really don't. But I did want to get videos up for you this week. I figured this was the easiest way for me to do that, and so we're gonna hop right into it. I'm gonna scoot my chair over and we're gonna get started.
Muffin Man was actually a serial killer. The Muffin Man is probably one of the most well-known nursery rhymes. But did you know it was based on a real story? A real dark story. In the 1800s, a man by the name of Frederick Thomas Linwood would wait in alleyways to kidnap and kill kids, luring them in with muffins. The song was later created to spread awareness amongst the kids and keep them safe, warning them about the Muffin Man, who was a danger on Drury Lane even though he was the first documented serial killer in the world. Everyone still teaches the song to their kids because not a lot of people know that the Muffin Man was.
What? Wait, that actually just blew my mind. I had no idea. Do you know the Muffin Man? Well, bitch, now I do.
This human monster terrorized London for decades, and the crazy part is, they were never able to catch him. Jack the Ripper is infamous for unaliving dozens of people, specifically women of the night. But what he did in 1888 would put him down in history. In a span of a few months, he was able to unalive 5 victims. And after he was done, just like that, he disappeared. And we never heard from him again. Many believe that he's a man with experience in medicine or butchery, based on the way he brutalized those bodies. A huge reason why people are fascinated with this case is, unfortunately, they never caught the monster who did this. And to this day, no one has paid for these horrific crimes.
Wait, okay, I've heard of Jack the Ripper, but I didn't know that they were ever caught. Actually, funny story. So one of my good friends, her dog's name is Ripper, and she always feels weird calling him Ripper in public. She told me this. She was like, you feel weird calling him Ripper in public is like Jack the Ripper, so she calls him Rippy or Rip, whatever. I just think that's funny. I don't think she named her dog after Jack the Ripper. She could have, but I don't know. But I did not know he was never caught. That's insane.
This man was the most cold-hearted killer ever. From 1974 to 1978, Ted Bundy was living a double life. By day, he was a charismatic, clean-cut law student, but by night, he was a serial killer. His target was mainly college women, and his modus operandi was to fake an injury to gain sympathy from women in the campus, asking simple favors like, "Would you help me bring my books to my car?" And once they got near his car, he would knock them unconscious, kidnap them, before proceeding to sexually assault them, eventually murdering them. After burying the bodies, he was said to go back on occasion and have intercourse with the corpses. Even though it's said that within the span of 4 years, he killed approximately 30 to 40 women, no one knows how many women actually died. That is why many people say that.
And then it loops, of course, because then it makes you feel like you have to rewatch the video 17 fucking times. I didn't know about the whole, I don't know what the word for that is. Having sex with dead body. Hope you know what I said. I didn't know about that. I feel like I know a lot about Ted Bundy, mainly because he's such a notorious serial killer. But I also feel like I don't know that much because I don't love true crime. So I feel like when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, okay. I didn't know that.
Who was the infamous Zodiac Killer? In the late 1960s, a man known as the Zodiac Killer terrorized Northern California and has never officially been caught to this day. The Zodiac Killer has been officially linked to 5 murders and 2 attempted murders. During a spree, the killer sent taunting letters and cards that he mailed to regional newspapers and law enforcement through a cipher. He claimed they would reveal his identity if they were decoded. The first letter he sent, on July 31st, 1969, was cracked just a week later. He states, "I like killing people because it is so much fun." However, it took 51 years for code breakers to crack the second cipher. An international team of code breakers broke the second cipher. In December 2020, the Zodiac Killer wrote, "I hope you are having lots of fun trying to catch me. But despite the breakthrough, the last two ciphers remained officially unsolved.
Wait, that's insane. Sorry if I say that a lot. Someone got mad at my Glitch in the Matrix video because I said, wait, so many times. I have to cough so bad. I just feel like my reaction for everything is always the same because I'm blown away by it and I'm like, that's insane. I think I knew that he was never caught or they were never caught. I guess we don't know if it's a man. Maybe we do. I think I did know that, but I didn't know that it took them so long to decipher and that he literally says who he is in the codes. Figure it out.
The legendary bloodthirsty Count Dracula may be an invention of Irish horror writer Bram Stoker, but Japanese serial killer Tsutomu Miyazaki was terrifyingly real. You could say he's almost a Japanese version of Jeffrey Dahmer, if you switch teenage boys for very young girls. Like Dahmer, Miyazaki had a thing for expressing a twisted adoration of dead bodies. Like a classic movie monster, Miyazaki had long, gnarled, Nosferatu-like hands which he used to strangle children. He also had an addiction to violent pornography and extremely gory horror movies. Miyazaki killed several young girls, performing post-mortem mutilations on the bodies, as well as depraved acts of necrophilia and cannibalism. When he tried to commit a sexual assault against a living girl, he was chased by the father and then arrested by police. It's said during his trial he showed no remorse whatsoever, and even once said that he had done a good job. Due to the horrific severity of his crimes, Miyazaki was handed the death sentence and was hanged on June 17, 2008, proving that unlike fictional vampires, Miyazaki wasn't immortal.
Okay, that was a lot of information to process. I feel like I need to move on because that one really freaked me out. I'm not gonna lie, but he's dead, so it's okay.
We're sitting on the floor watching TV, and she just come out and said, I have something to tell you. And she said that she had killed a man that day.
This is the story of Eileen Wernos, the first ever female serial killer. Wernos' mother abandoned her and her brother when they were young, leaving them with her parents. Childhood friends said that Wernos' grandfather beat her and her grandmother was an alcoholic. She was 14 when her family kicked her out of the house. That is when her life took a 180-degree turn. Eileen often earned money through prostitution, and Richard Mallory was just another paying customer. She shot him 3 times with a .22 pistol, dumped his body in a wood besides Interstate 95. Eileen Wernos went on trial for the murder of Richard Mallory and was convicted 2 weeks later. The sentence was death. She pleaded no contest to 3 more murders, for which the sentences were also death. The gears of death turned slowly in American capital cases. This was the story of Eileen Wernos, the first ever female serial killer.
Wait, so was she just killing Johns? Isn't that what they call men who get prostitutes? Johns? Or is that no, that's John Doe, when you're unknown? I don't know.
Tommy Lynn's cells claimed the lives of over 70 people in the United States. A vagabond of sorts, the media referred to Cells as the coast-to-coast killer, but most knew him as the brutal Texan. Often left alone at home by his mother when he was young, Tommy spent much of his childhood fending for himself. He rarely went to school and started drinking alcohol at the age of 7. At 8, he was taken advantage of by an older man. At 10, he dropped out of school and turned to drugs and even more alcohol. His mother, disgusted with his behavior, packed up Tommy's siblings and abandoned Tommy, leaving him on his own for good. He began moving from town to town, doing what he could to survive, understandably filled with rage after his mother's abandonment. At 16, he claimed his first and second murders. He then moved to Arkansas in 1981 and killed another 2 there. Then in 1986, he was convicted of carjacking and served 9 months of a 2-year sentence before being released. And this was when he would go on a vicious murder spree that would make him one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. Tommy Cells hopped trains, and at every stop, he would brutally murder several people. A mother and her 4-year-old son in Missouri, 2 young women in California, a 20-year-old woman in Nevada, and a 27-year-old woman in New York.
Oh my God.
After New York, Tommy Cells ended up hitchhiking in Illinois when a man named Keith Dardeen stopped to offer him a ride. After some brief conversation, Keith invited Tommy back to his house to have dinner with his family. After he finished eating, Cells stood, said thank you to the family, and then shot Keith Dardeen dead and then mutilated him. He then took out his rage on Keith's 3-year-old son Pete, and then beat Keith's pregnant wife to death with a baseball bat. Unfortunately, this heinous crime would go unsolved for more than a decade. On New Year's Eve, 1999, 13-year-old Kayleen Harris and her 10-year-old friend, Crystal Searles, lay in Kayleen's room, talking about things most important to girls of that age. Tommy Sells entered through the window in Kaylin's bedroom.
Wait,
he grabbed Kaylin, slashing her throat and killing her instantly. He did the same to Crystal, dropping her to the floor and leaving her for dead. But unbeknownst to Tommy, Crystal survived. She pretended to be dead until the monster had left, and then she ran to a neighbor's house and contacted the police.
Holy shit.
On January 2nd, 2000, Tommy Lynn Sells was arrested and confessed to killing over 70 people in the U.S. And finally, after a 20-year murder spree, authorities were able to close the book on this cold-blooded killer's rampage.
Wait. I think I've heard of that. I think I've heard of the last story where she survived. I'm almost positive I have heard of that. I didn't know he had killed 70 people. That is insane. It's just like so scary what people like are capable of, and like to not get caught for so long. It just makes you think like how many people are out there just doing this right now, you know what I mean? They're just like getting away with it.
Infamous killers from around the world. Number 4, Alexander Patrician, aka the chessboard killer.
Okay, I've never heard of this one. I know for a fact.
Moscow, Russia. He was found guilty and convicted of 48 murders in 2007. His first murder was as a teenager, when he pushed a boy out of a window, but police would accidentally rule that boy's death accidental. After that, Alexander's urge to kill lay dormant until the early 2000s, when he began killing people in Moscow's Bidvesky Park. He would target the elderly and destitute, and then hit them with a blunt force object, and then he would throw his victims into a sewer pit, even with some of them still being alive, which resulted in them drowning. During the investigation, police discovered a chessboard with dates on all but 2 of the squares, apparently connected to all of the murders that he committed. And due to the gruesomeness and number of murders that he committed, Russians considered reinstating the death penalty.
Oh, damn. Oh, damn. They're like, this man is so bad, we have to kill him. Okay.
Ed Gein was raised by an alcoholic father and a mother who taught him that all women were evil. Born in 1906 in Wisconsin, Gein was only allowed to leave his home to go to school. By December 1945, his mother, father, and brother had all passed away.
Oh my God.
Gein was living all alone in their farmhouse. In November 1957, police found the headless body of Bernice Worden, as well as many other gruesome discoveries in his home. Gein admitted to digging up women from their graves who resembled his mother, as well as murdering 2 women. Gein had started to create a woman's suit, one he could wear to become his mother. The remains of 10 women were found in his house, along with creations he made using human body parts. Police found skulls on his bedposts, leggings made from legs, masks made from skin, and a lampshade made of human faces, among other things. Gein was deemed mentally unfit to stand trial, and was instead sent to a mental health institution. He died age 77.
Okay, that's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like, what it's like based off of. For some reason I thought it was the clown. Who's the clown? Maybe, Gacy? Wayne Gacy, I think, is the clown. I don't know. Sorry that I got like excited when I put 2 and 2 together that it was Texas Chainsaw. It's like not exciting at all. It's horrific what happened. I just like, my brain was like, oh, you were wrong. This is what it was. And I was like, oh, this is Texas Chainsaw. So sorry if I was like excited about that. That was weird.
To anyone who may be triggered by these topics, or anyone who's faint of heart, please keep scrolling. Serial killers from every U.S. state. Part 30. New Jersey. Charles Edmund Cullen, aka the Angel of Death. Charles Edmund Cullen was the Angel of Death killer, and he killed upwards of 40 people over his 16-year career as a nurse in New Jersey.
16 years.
When patients would look to him for care during their darkest times, he would respond by killing them, usually with prescription drugs. In his confession, Cullen said he believed he was doing the community a service, helping these sick patients by relieving them of their pain. During his 60 Minutes interview, he apologized for his crimes, but said, "I don't know if I would have stopped." Cullen only confessed to the 40 murders, but investigators and experts believe his body count may have reached the hundreds. He was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 11 life sentences.
God damn! Like, these people are working in our medical field. Like this type of person was like in the medical field for 16 years doing this and no one fucking caught on. Get a grip. I'm pretty sure
Welcome to the 6th room of my mini dollhouse. Highly requested, John Wayne Gacy's basement. Gacy is responsible for the deaths of at least 33 victims, of which 26 were buried in the crawl space of his Chicago home. Gacy would abduct victims or lure them into his home, sometimes even 2 in the same night. He would con them into handcuffs as part of his Pogo the Clown routine, and once they were immobilized, Gacy would torture his victims for hours before killing them. He was suspected in the disappearance of a 15-year-old. His home was searched once, he was put under surveillance, and on the second search, an officer recognized the smell of decay. Gacy gave a full confession to officers and was arrested. He claimed to have 4 personalities, but was ultimately sentenced to death with 33 counts of murder. After 14 years and a bucket of KFC, he was put to death in the morning of May 10th, 1994. Thanks for watching. Follow along for more, and have a killer day.
Wait, that's like insane. Like making a whole like replica of these like serial killers. Like it's interesting. But it's like kind of crazy.
Dean Corll abducted, tortured, and killed at least 28 boys and young men between 1970 and 1973 in Houston, Texas. He also had 2 teenage accomplices named Devin Brooks and Elmer Henley. Dean's family owned a candy factory across the street from the school. He got his nickname because he would pass out broken candies to the school children. He was also known for throwing parties where he would have local teens over to drink and do drugs. His 2 assistants, David and Elmer, were in charge of bringing him his victims and even sometimes helping with the torture and murder. His method was typically strangulation or shooting. August 8th, 1973, Dean had 2 of Elmer's friends strapped up to a torture board like you see here. Elmer suddenly grabbed a gun, pointed it at Dean, and said, "I can't have you kill all my friends." He unloaded all the rounds, killing Dean. Elmer led the police to a shed where Dean kept his victims. They've all been identified except for this boy. Elmer was given 6 life sentences, and David was given 99 years. David actually died in prison this year from complications due to COVID-19.
Oh my god. Wait, I wonder if that's where like the whole like candy thing came from, you know, like serial killers or like kidnappers giving out candy was like the Candy Man. Am I like stupid? Like, is it that obvious? Because it makes me think of like the vans with the candy, like if he's handing out candy, it's like luring in victims. Is that where it came from? Tell me if I'm dumb.
Nicknamed Dr. Death, Harold Shipman is thought to be responsible for murdering 218 of his patients between 1972 and 1998.
If you can stay in the community, receive your treatment in the community, with your family around you, your usual friends, then this all adds to the speed of recovery from the illness.
In reality, the number of people he murdered is likely much higher. As a practicing physician, Shipman had easy access to potential victims, which is why he was able to be such a prolific killer without raising suspicion. However, because Shipman was involved in so many cases in which patients died, people eventually began to suspect foul play. Most of his victims were elderly women, whom he said had died in their sleep. But many of these women died during the day, which struck some as odd. Additionally, Shipman asked for an unusually large number of cremation certificates, which caught the attention of an undertaker who reported the odd circumstances of the cremations. Eventually, Shipman was convicted in 2000, but only after a victim's daughter reported that he had tried to write a will for the victim that would name him as the beneficiary. He died by suicide in prison in 2004.
Wait, I'm like, how do these people get away with it for so long? When it's like, obviously, like, they died in their sleep, it's the middle of the day, like, were you not catching on? Maybe we were just really, really, really stupid back then. Maybe we're really, really, really stupid now. I don't know. But how do you not catch on to that? Okay, I have one more. Never mind, the video is unavailable, so that was the last one. 2 of the videos in this playlist were unavailable, which I'm assuming means that they deleted the video. Okay, that was really interesting. Like I said, I'm not a huge true crime girl, so I hadn't heard of most of those people. It is always interesting to learn about something that you've never heard about before, but it also scares the shit out of me, so. But that is all I have for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any TikToks you want me to watch or react to, please tag me in them on TikTok. I always have my TikTok down below. I just had the worst cough attack ever and my throat really hurts, so I'm gonna go. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye! I don't even think I have anything to ramble about, honestly. Like, I've done nothing this week. I've just been, like, sick in bed, like, literally. Every day I've taken, like, multiple naps, and, like, I feel like shit. And I feel like this video made me feel worse. I don't know why, like, because I wasn't really talking that much. My throat really hurts, so I'm gonna go. I love you guys so much. I'm sorry that I'm not rambling. I know you guys like this, but I don't really have anything to say anyway. I'm gonna go. I love you guys so much. See ya.